Preapproval Information Exchange Act of 2022 is intended to facilitate the exchange of information between manufacturers and payers in a proactive manner in advance of a product's approval by the FDA. And traditionally, there have been significant limitations on the ability of manufacturers to share this information, especially proactively. FDA tried to address that in some ways with its guidance that was finalized in June of 2018, but it's limited and not explicit that proactive sharing is allowable. So there are gaps in that, and we believe that it's very important to codify this ability of manufacturers to do this and provide some additional clarity. We've made great progress since the release of the final guidance, but more needs to be done, and that's the reason behind the PI Act. Payers need this information because they want to provide timely access to their patients to new innovative products that are coming to market. And often what happens is you have a product approved by the FDA, but there's a lag time before payers have the information, clinical evidence, et cetera, that they need in order to make decisions about coverage and formulary placement. So we're trying to close that gap with the ultimate goal of giving patients more efficient and rapid access to these new innovative products. Information is in the name of the act is purposely vague, and we're talking about really any information that's useful to the payer audience as the product is making its way through the approval process. And that certainly can be clinical data. We have a number of products that are approved now under expedited approval pathways, breakthrough therapies, for example. So you actually could have the product come to market before there is availability of the phase 3 clinical trial data. So clinical evidence and data is certainly an important part of the pie, no pun intended. But there are other things, even like dosage, type of administration, site of service. For example, if you're dealing with products that have to be infused in a physician's office or ambulatory infusion center. So really information kind of sums up everything that payers are looking for as they begin to evaluate products for coverage and formulary placement. So payers are always reviewing information. Pipeline tracking is a really, really important effort on behalf of our members that they're engaged in. In fact, if you attend AMCP national meetings, one of the most well-attended sessions at our meeting is the pipeline session that we feature every year. So yes, they're always looking for that, but there's often information that only manufacturers have in advance of approval. That's what we're looking for, that key information that will help payers begin to evaluate products in advance of their approval. And also, let's don't forget the contracting process. We now see some value-based contracting taking place that is quite complex and time-consuming. And so having certain pieces of information in advance of a product's approval can really allow payers and manufacturers to begin that process, again, with the goal of closing the gap on patient access. When the new therapies come to market, patients have access in an expeditious manner, and there's little or no lag time. Well, there are a number of examples of where having this information could be very beneficial in making informed and appropriate decisions about product usage. So that's really what we're striving for here, is avoiding a scenario where when a product is approved for marketing, there's insufficient evidence to determine the appropriate patient populations, how it should be used, and coverage and reimbursement. So that's exactly what we're trying to make sure that we avoid in the future with very innovative products like that, giving payers the information and the evidence that they need in a timely manner so that they in turn can ensure their patients have access to innovative therapies as appropriate. Well, our members brought this issue to us back in 2016. I remember it well. It's an issue that arose from discussions with our members about their needs as it relates to new therapies coming to market. And you might remember that that was a few years after we had seen the hepatitis C drugs come to market, really revolutionizing the way that we treat that condition and improving the lives of millions of patients. And of course, we all know the story there. There was payers were kind of caught unaware. They knew these products were coming, but had little information about how they would be used and exactly what patients, what indications might be included in the labeling. And so they weren't able to plan for these products as they could have otherwise. And our members came to us and said, we need to make sure that we're avoiding this situation. And one thing that's critical is that we get information from manufacturers, not just in response to an unsolicited request, because quite frankly, in the absence of information, sometimes we don't know the questions to ask. So we want manufacturers to be able to share this information with us proactively in advance of a product's approval, to avoid this type of nightmare scenario where you have a life-changing, life-saving, in some cases, products coming to market, but how they are to be used and the evidence to support their use is unclear. So it came from the members, and as we began 6 years ago to really delve into this, what we found is that there was broad support for this type of communication to take place. So we set about with the goal, remember, we're a mission-driven organization with a patient-focused mission. We're all about making sure patients get access to the medicines they need at a cost they can afford. So with that as our guiding light, we set about to address this problem on behalf of our members and the patients they serve.